Everyone, and welcome to my talk show, Allowed to Talk. And today is my sister Jean's birthday, so I wore the same outfit that she had before she passed away last August 31st of 2020. And I'm wearing the same dress to celebrate her life because she was a caring, compassionate woman who cared about life and people and loved the Lord with all her heart, soul, mind, and strength. And she was caring and compassionate towards me in my trials and my mental health issues. But today I'd like to read for you a chapter from my book that I wrote last year. Who took my self-esteem? More or like, who took my self-worth? Because I felt worthless for a long time. Inner critics are like trolls. Chapter 1, who took my self-esteem? Chapter 1, nurturing, validating. Do newborn humans need nurturing? They don't need nurturing to survive, but to live a life of more than just surviving, they should have nurturing. The reasons to nurture a baby and young child can make the difference between living a mediocre life or a wonderful, thriving life. Not just to survive like any wild animal does, to have a life of love for others as well as for themselves. You need to receive proper nurturing as an infant and child. A newborn baby is very selfish, and if you want to use the word narcissistic, then go right ahead. A newborn has to be just that because that is the only way they know how to get the attention they need to survive. If you are a living adult, then you survived infancy. You might still be being treated like an infant by your parents, or they might be the infant-like person making you take care of their every need by shaming you into doing their every bidding. The red-faced, screaming, crying infant is the one who is neglected to the point of allowing the infant to cry in excess. The infant might be screaming for 30 minutes before the parent attends to them. The parent might be going through something traumatic such as postpartum depression. Parent might just be a toxic tyrant and intentionally disregarding the cries until to the point of keeping the child alive. Then they feed and tend to the needs of the baby. A parent might be so busy rescuing an older sibling from their trials and thus neglecting to attend in a timely manner to a screaming infant. This happens, and the lack of nurturing and caring for a child, looking in their face, assuring them they are in good hands, can cause mental health issues for that child in the future. When a teenager and even into young adult, this child will still be searching for validation and approval since they were never nurtured properly. I had to hear more than once the following words from a few of my siblings. You had food, you had a bed to sleep in, you had a roof over your head, so just get over yourself already. Our mother did the best she could with what she had. Maybe so, but the best she could when I was an infant and young child was not enough for me to be validated. Not at all enough. My story. I was born on a very cold January night. My mother worked until she could not handle the pain any longer. She went to the hospital and they diagnosed her as being in labor, and a few hours later I was born. She was not overjoyed that I was just another girl. My mother stayed the appropriate days in the hospital, and then someone brought us home. I was given a drawer out of the cupboard to sleep in. The only crib was still being used by my precious sister that was around 16 months older at the time. I was to be babysat by my grandma and grandpa. Precious 16-month-old sister was taken care of by my older sister Maggie, who was 17 years old at that time. There are many pictures of this 16-month-old baby and none of me as a baby. My mother told me many times in my adult years, and she bragged telling this, that she went back to work the very next day after she came home from the hospital with me. She quite often worked a full day and then took me back over to my older siblings and then went back over to visit her mother for hours. My grandmother lived right across the sidewalk in another house on the farm I was raised. I remember when I was a youngster, about 4 years old, following her over to Grandma's house. They spoke some kind of weird language dialect, and I was frustrated by that. When I would ask what they are saying, I was told that I was to be seen and not heard. So in other words, shut up and go away, child. My mother gave birth to 11 children before she gave birth to me. She had quit going places with her mom and dad. She only went to work and then home, only to go back to chat with her mother all the time. My mother lost a child when it was only a few months old, a girl she named Linda Lou. She also lost another daughter that was stillborn. This was all before she had me, just another girl. And that's the end of chapter 1 of Who Took My Self-Esteem, Who Took My Self-Worth, because I felt worthless. That was chapter 1. And if you're interested, I'm going to be reading all 22 chapters on my talk show, Allowed to Talk. And that was just chapter 1. And to end today's show, I'm going to try to always sing a song. And I love to yodel, so I picked out this song for today. Whip out a yodel. I work all day like an old pack mule. Well, I must be some kind of fool. A whole lot of working for a little bit of pay. And I'm a dull girl at the end of the day. So when I'm down and feeling blue, there's just one thing that gets me through. I whip out a yodel, hodel-o-dee, yodel-a-dee, yodel-o-dee. Crank out a yodel, hodel-a-dee, yodel-a-dee, yodel-o-dee.